10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
I'm Michelle Graves, your host on today's segment of The Power of Money. I'm glad to have you here. Now, at The Power of Money, we are interested in three things happening. First, we want you to get the necessary education so that you and your family can make the decisions that will impact positively on you in your financial life. The second thing is that you be empowered to prosper. I only want the best for you. And you can only get that if you have education and then the drive to make it happen. And the third thing that is so important to me is that you recognize that life is more than a journey and that you be energized so that you can begin to participate in the truly joyous experience of living. So, here's to empowerment. Here's to education, and here's to energy. I'm Michelle Graves, your host, Power of Money, and here we go. And here we go. Good morning, good afternoon, good night, depending upon your platform for watching this show. I'm your host, Michelle Graves, and as always, I'm delighted to be a part of your world for the next hour to bring you information and resources that can help you and your family prosper during these very difficult times. And without a doubt, we are in very, very difficult times with the pandemic, with the economy, with social unrest, and people just stressed over the top. But this show is going to be an educational show, and it's going to give you a welcome relief from all of the political ads and things you've been seeing on the television. That's now over, and now you're being inundated with Medicare. And that's going to be the case until December the 7th, because we are officially in open enrollment season. That's major if you are a senior. If you have grandparents, you'd want to listen in as well, because the information I'm going to provide you can assist them in helping them make those decisions. The question that I'm oftentimes asked is, goodness gracious, Miss Graves, there's so much that's on television. I'm getting all this mail. I'm drowning in mail. I'm drowning in everything. And so I'm going to use this time today to educate you on Medicare. I mean, I'm going to talk to you straight, and I'm going to try to take away a lot of the fear and the annoyance and the frustration and the confusion that comes from you being just swamped with marketing material. Just by way of background, I am licensed in insurance. I am certified as an enroller to represent all of these different companies, which I do, and to assist you in the process of making the right decision for yourself. Now, as many of you no doubt know, you can, I'm not the only person that does this. If you are in Medicare now, it's time for your review. And the individual that enrolled you the last time prayerfully did recertify, go through all the exams. They are rigorous, viewers. I'm not kidding you. The government is not playing about people talking to seniors. When you turn 65 in this country, you are officially a protected class. And that means that we aren't allowed to solicit you. We are not allowed to knock on your door. We're not allowed to do anything other than to use platforms and situations to educate you. You can refer people to us, and based upon that, we can reach out, but we cannot solicit. So if you're getting that going on right now, you need to hang up the phone, have nothing more to do with that individual, because that is not the way that Medicare works. And I'm proud to say very honestly, I've been delighted with being able to help people to undo poor decisions, make good decisions, and find carriers that work for them. Now, as a prelude to my discussion today, you need to be aware that if you're happy where you are, there is no reason for you to change anything. If you're getting what you need, not what Sally needs or Fred, but if you're getting what you need from the Medicare program, then enough said. Will not touch it. But if you would like to know, is it true what I'm hearing on television? Have things changed that much? There have been changes. Yeah. And for the most part, great. I mean, really, a great time to be a senior with Medicare. It really is. So I want to take away the confusion, particularly because people don't know the story and they don't know what's involved. So this hour program, I'm going to try to cover as much as I can. And if I don't cover what you need, you can always go to my website, michellegravesonline.com, and just give me your information and I'll get in touch with you. It's real simple today. But this show, and I don't know when it'll broadcast, but hopefully it will broadcast before Medicare season concludes so that you can get the information and move forward. So I've designed a workbook that I'm going to be using to guide you. If you'd like a copy of that workbook yourself, you're going to need to go to that website and you're going to have to tell me that's what you want, and we can send you this exact copy so that you can review it yourself. Sometimes it's better to have things in hand, but for purposes of this particular television broadcast, I'm going to be referring to this workbook to help you to walk through. So let's start with what is my agenda today. The first thing I'm going to be talking about today is what is Medicare. And then I'm going to be talking about who is eligible for Medicare and coverage options. And then I'm going to be talking about Medicare enrollment, because that's the process as well. And then next steps, and then finally additional resources. I'm going to be providing you with those resources that you can get some help on. Let's start with, if you'll go to the first slide, a brief history of Medicare, if you can. If not, I'm going to just go on. Medicare is not a new program. It was signed into law by President Johnson July the 30th of 1965. Can you believe that? 1965. There were 19 million enrollees within the first 12 months of its passage. And today, 2020, there are approximately 64 million enrollees in the United States of America. Just for your information and why I'm doing this show, that of the 64 million people in Medicare, 2/3 are enrolled in traditional Medicare, which I'm going to talk about, and 1/3 are enrolled in the Medicare Advantage plans, which is Part C. What are some of the notable changes to the original Medicare, which is Part A and Part B? And I'm going to explain all this to you, so calm down, okay? In 1972, coverage for those under the age of 65 was included. In the 80s, supplemental plans, which were to cooperate or run in sequence to those who had original Medicare, were standardized. That's in the 80s. In 1997, Medicare Part C was introduced. I'm saying this because this is not new stuff. Part C, which you're hearing all this information about, was introduced in 1997. That's over 20 plus years ago. In 2003, Medicare Part D, which is your prescription drug plan, was introduced. Now let me stop right there, because many of you are not aware that the prescription drug component is mandatory when you do original Part A and B. It is mandatory. It is not optional. If you do not enroll in the prescription plan, Part D, there is a penalty that you will pay for having failed to enroll. Whether you take medications or not, the purpose of Part D, which is to cover your drugs, is not your option. It is a part of the construct of the Medicare plan. So I say this because I run into people every single day who do not have Part D. And I have to tell them, if you're going to stay in the original plan, you're going to have to get Part D, and you're going to be subject to a 10% penalty. Those are the rules. Well, I don't take drugs. It has nothing to do with it. It has everything to do with how the plan is constructed. And while you may not take prescripts now, if you can live in America and get through from birth to death without taking any kind of medications, God bless you, because it's hard. And while I'm not a person that's a strong advocate of a lot of medications, with many people it is life or death. Diabetes, heart conditions, high blood pressure, all these things have to be controlled through prescriptions, and which is, again, the medical industry. Your doctor has to prescribe them, and then you have to either pick them up or you can mail order them through an approved distributor. But that's not optional. And I say that because I've run into so many people who absolutely get just madder than mad about this. And I said, I didn't write the laws, but you should be very happy that Lyndon Baines Johnson in 1965 put private health care for seniors into place. Because the truth of the matter is, prior to Medicare, you were on your own. When you were in a hospital or you had something bad happen to you in the area of your physical needs, you would find yourself facing staggering medical doctor bills, and in many, many instances, looking at a high probability of bankruptcy. At the most vulnerable time in your life, you are now having to deal with bankruptcy due to a medical condition or situation. And thank God that is no longer the case if you plan properly, and we'll talk more about that. In 2010, ACA was introduced with no-cost preventative services. And again, ACA was reduced, Part D, donut hole costs. That could get you too on medication, particularly on your very expensive medications for cancer and other things. Many people found themselves really in a bad place. And so those changes were made, and those were good things. Those are very good things. So, who is eligible for Medicare? First, and it's not complicated, okay? You have to be a U.S. citizen or a legal resident for at least 5 consecutive years. So if you have come into the United States and you have been here and you are now 65 but 5 years you've been here, you've worked, etc., then you are eligible for Medicare. Now, there are additional conditions, namely, have you paid in enough money to be able to qualify for the benefits without you contributing? Well, they're going to look at your records. The best thing to do to find out is to call Social Security. Believe me, Social Security has everything on people. It does. It's an amazing organization. But you need to call Social Security and find out if you are legally eligible, if there's any uncertainty about that. For most Americans who have worked, you have been paying into to Medicare for a long time. It's deducted from your paycheck. That's why people get really, really irate when you start talking about, well, they're going to take away my Social Security, my Medicare? What? I paid into that. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. You did pay into it. Your employer matched you on Social Security, but on Medicare, you paid into it. And so that is an entitlement that you're entitled to. It's yours. You did it. So you have to be a U.S. citizen, and you have to be age 65 or older, or if you're under 65, you have to have a qualifying disability. That would mean that you needed to be on Social Security disability for 2 years exactly, 24 months or more, and you can be any age and qualify for Medicare if you have a diagnosis of end-stage renal disease or ALS. So there are no age restrictions if you fall into that category. So again, you have to be a legal resident, and you have to be 65 or older, or you have to be on Social Security disability for 24 months going forward, or you have end-stage renal disease or ALS. That's any age. So that is the ground rules. That's the foundation. Do a lot of people meet those requirements? Yes, they do. Do you have a choice as to whether you enroll in Medicare? Well, I'm going to tell you this. If you don't enroll in Medicare, there are penalties for that. They want you covered. They have plans in place to make sure that your medical care, which is a biggie for so many seniors, will be covered. Another thing you're going to get as a part of enrolling when you call Social Security is they're going to issue you a new Medicare card. This card does not have your Social Security number on it or any information that is private. Thank you so much. It will have your name. It will have your Medicare claim number, which you need. It will show you what you're entitled to under hospital Plan A, what date, the effective date, and Plan B, which is your medical. It'll have your sex, male or female, and your signature. Now, let me tell you about that card. You don't ever want to you don't ever want to lose that card. It's like your Social Security card. Doors will not open if you don't have this identification. And don't say, well, it's in the system. 250 million Americans? Are you kidding me? You need your own card, and you need to keep it in a safe place so that you can present it when asked. And you will typically be asked if you go into your doctor and you don't have any additional plans. They're going to want to see your Medicare card because it's going to give them some vital information. A lot of people are not aware that the card will tell a hospital or a doctor whether you even have coverage. And if you don't have coverage, then you're going to have to pay them in cash or some form of credit card or something. You will not be under the protection of Medicare. So let's talk about the different types of coverage. we'll go to the next slide, coverage options, because we do have them. And I'm so sorry that the screen may not be as clear as you want, but as I said, if you would like to get a hard copy of my workbook, just key in my website, michellegravesonline.com. Under coverage options, we have, and this is important to remember, we have a Part A, we have a Part B, we have a Part C, we have a Part D, and then we have something known as Medicare Supplement, also known as Medigap. Under Part A, that is known as hospital insurance, and that is inpatient hospital care, inpatient mental health care, skilled nursing services, hospice care, and some blood transfusions. Most people have Part A. And where it starts getting fuzzy is in Part B, which is your doctor and outpatient visits. Under Part B, it covers physician services, outpatient hospital services, ambulance, outpatient mental health, laboratory services, durable medical equipment, wheelchairs, oxygen, and so forth, outpatient physical, occupational, and speech-language therapy, and some preventive care. Now, I'm going to tell you under Part B what is not covered, as well as Part A. Medicare Part A and B, deductibles. These are not covered. That's your baby. Coinsurance and premiums. Medicare Part B, excess charges, that's amount billed over what Medicare agrees to pay. Right, Medicare has a schedule, and they're not going to pay anything above what that schedule is. That's the rule of thumb. If there is a request you can make, but the rules are your doctor has to follow the treatment and billing schedule that is provided by Medicare. They know this. They know this going again. You're protected class, okay? They cannot just do their thing. What is not covered? Again, under Part A and B, prescription drug coverage. Nope. Additional benefits such as hearing, vision, and dental. Those are not covered under Part A and B either. So when you're looking at television and you see all of this information about vision, dental, etc., that is not under the original Medicare plan. That is under the Part C, which is the Medicare Advantage, okay? And yes, it's a very rich offering. And it does, in most instances, cover these add-ons. I call them add-ons. Sometimes they're built into the plan. Sometimes you have to pay an additional premium if you want more. But original does not do that, okay? The other thing original Medicare does not do, they do not pay for long-term care or custodial care if that is the only care you need. Most nursing homes are custodial care. Now let me take a pause for a minute for all of you that are seniors. God forbid, but life is what it is. If you have to go into custodial care, Medicare does not cover that. That is a benefit that is offered by another federal program known as Medicaid. And over the years on this show, I've talked about Medicaid. I've had experts come on to talk. Ray Copenhaver, who's considered the father of long-term care, Randy Gall. All these people have talked about why you need to have long-term care coverage, because the statistics say you're going to need it. And yes, you can get Medicaid, which is coverage for the poor. And believe me, to be eligible for Medicaid, there are income restrictions, asset restrictions, and if you're using them as a backup, you better hope and pray. You better hope and pray that you're able to do them as a last resort. This is a deviation from what I'm talking about, but I got to say it from my heart, because nursing homes cannot afford to continue profitably when their only source of revenue is Medicaid. It's very restrictive, very limited, and then families get angry when I tell them, you can't have any money and qualify for Medicaid. If you have a house, you're not going to be able to qualify. You're going to have to sell that house, and the monies that you have will be used to help pay your nursing home bill, which, if you haven't looked recently, is very, very expensive. How do most people do it today? Most families have to front the money themselves. It's called private pay. They have to ante up the money for mom, dad, grandma, granddad. They have to foot it themselves because they did not take out long-term care insurance, which I'm a strong advocate of. I am a strong advocate. And before you say, I can't afford it, well, wait till you find out what nursing home care is going to look like. So what happens is a lot of people wind up staying in their homes with minimal or marginal care until they just can't do it anymore. And then back to the nursing home, back to Medicaid, liquidation of everything, and you're back to where you were in the beginning. But relative to this show, Medicare does not cover long-term care, custodial care, which is what most skilled nursing facilities do. So, moving on, under Part A, which has to deal with, as you will remember, your hospital costs. Again, for most people, there's no premium for Part A because you paid it during your working years. There is a deductible of $1,408 per benefit period, not to exceed 60 days. So if you have 3 different hospital occurrences, that's $1,408 for each one of them if they're over the 60-day threshold. There are other costs which they will cover. $352 per day for days 61 to 90 in one benefit period. And then they will again set a lifetime reserve of $704. There are no out-of-pocket on this. Now this is where it gets fuzzy. If you have an extended hospital stay and you are outside of what Medicare will pay, then it's going to be on you. And this is the problem today with so many people on traditional Medicare. There are no maximum out-of-pocket. Medicare will pay 80 and you will pay 20. That means 80%, that's after all these deductibles, okay, which are on you. And then they will pick up the tab for 80, and then the balance will be on you. Now, most people are not prepared, so they say, oh my God, what am I going to do, what am I going to do? Well, I'm going to tell you in the olden days, and I say olden days, because prior to the Medicare Advantage, you didn't have options. You had to suck it up and pay the bill. And that was a painful, and extremely expensive experience for most seniors. They don't have the money. But again, the bill collector doesn't care. Their whole thing is that don't get sick. Or if you get sick, have some money. So that's under the original plan. And again, it doesn't pay for everything, and it never was designed to pay for everything. Under your Part B, which has to deal with your medical costs, the old rule is every month you're going to get a deduction from your Social Security check of $144.60. Well, that amount is now for 2021, it is going to be more, okay? That is not optional. You are going to pay that. That covers your doctor bills, etc. There is a deductible of $198 per year. That's under 220. It's a little more this next year. Other costs, 20% of approved amounts of most covered services. And again, there are no out-of-pocket limitations with that either under the original plan. So that's Part A and Part B. So let's move on. And I want to give some clarification on terms and definitions so that you can understand before we move into Part C, which, I'm not going to lie, I love the Advantage Plan. I do. And there are many carriers, many, out here today. When I say many, 35. It used to be less. Now it's more people getting in. But let's deal with terms and definitions just very quickly. A premium represents a fixed amount that you pay for coverage, usually monthly. Okay? Now, as I said with Part A, if you've paid in there is no premium. With Part B, we do know that Social Security will automatically deduct from your check that premium, which was for 221, 44.60, but it's higher for this 221 period coming in. I'm just letting you know it's higher. A deductible is a set amount that you pay for covered services before your plan begins to pay. And that's a surprise for a lot of people that under the Part A, there is a deductible, and same with Part B. A copay is a fixed amount you pay at the time you received a covered service. So let me give you an example. If you go to the doctor, and it depends on the plan you have, the doctor's charge may be, say, $50. Depends on your plan. You may be responsible for paying that. Medicare may be billed, but this is your responsibility. This is your copay, okay? Coinsurance represents the amount you pay when the cost of a covered service is split with you and the insurance company. That's called coinsurance. Usually you'll see around 20% coinsurance, okay? So that is the original. Part A, Part B, Part D, which I haven't talked about yet, but I will, because that is overlooked so much with people that say, oh, I need to get something. Well, you make sure that when you talk to Social Security, that, because they're not going to tell you, you got to tell them, I want Part D, as well as my Part A and, of course, my Part B. Okay, and don't say, I'm not going to do it, because you are going to do it, but it's going to do you. Okay, let's look at Part C, which is your Medicare Advantage plans. These are what you're seeing on TV, radio, all the literature from everybody. Humana, Aetna, Anthem, Medical Mutual, United Healthcare, Molina, CareSource, everybody's doing C now. Again, it's not a new plan. 1997, in my opinion, is a long time. But what is it and what does it do, and is it legal? Number one, it's quite legal. I just shared with you. It's been in place for many years. People just didn't know about it. And they didn't know about it. And again, the federal government is not exactly a premier marketing company. Okay, the Medicare Advantage is the private carrier's response to Medicare Original through a contractual arrangement with Medicare. Private carriers, private insurance companies can offer a plan package that must be better, has to be by law, has to be better than the original plan. It has to have more features. It's got to have some zing to it, okay? And that's why you're seeing all of this on television. I mean, it's like I don't even want to watch television anymore because I'm inundated. The shows that I love to enjoy, Grit and Me Too and all those, those are senior channels. As my grandson said, Mimi, why is that TV in black and white? I was like, because the rifleman is in black and white. Why? Well, back then we didn't have technology. And he was like, wow, that's sad. I was like, if I saw the rifleman in color, I would not be happy. Is that you? Anyway, Medicare Advantage combines Part A and Part B, and in many cases, it includes prescription drug coverage. Did you hear that? Covers Part A, Part B, and in many cases, prescription. So it's all bundled in to a plan that is quite attractive, okay? It's offered only by private insurance companies, and it often includes additional benefits, such as routine vision care, hearing care, wellness services, and a nurse-doctor phone line, telehealth. That's standard. So don't get all hyped up about one plan over another. Okay, that's why you need to have someone like myself do a review and make sure you understand what works for you, or, you know, call Medicare.gov. They can walk you through a lot of things as well, okay? These are wonderful, wonderful benefits. Now, who is eligible for Part C, which is the Medicare Advantage? This is very important, particularly for those of you that are in group plans right now with your employer, worksite plans. You must be enrolled in Part A and Part B. If you're not enrolled in both of those, Part C cannot be accessed. If you are waiting to get enrolled in Part B, and this is happening a lot of times when people transition out of the workplace, then once you are in Part B, and Social Security will tell you when, then you can enroll in Medicare Part C. You cannot have any doctor visits covered by Medicare Part B if you're not enrolled. Okay, so for a lot of people, that's not a comfortable place to be, but again, those are the rules. You have to be in Part A and Part B to be able to get the benefits of Part C. You must be in a planned service area. That's very important. Not all areas in the United States are covered by Part C. Note, in rural communities many times, not the case. Your eligibility for this plan is not affected by your health or financial status. Let me say this right now and right up front. Pre-existing conditions are fine. Poor health is fine. Cancer, other issues are not grounds for anything. You cannot be denied this plan. It is a federal plan. Remember the rules, 65 and over. You have to have Part A and Part B. If you're under 65 but you've been on Social Security disability for 2+ years, you cannot be denied whether you have a bunch of money or no money. You cannot be denied. It's a guaranteed approval. I like that. Don't talk about our government that bad. This is a good plan, okay? You, under the old rules, you couldn't have end stage. That's no longer the case in 2021. Awesome. Let's talk about some quick facts about this plan that I love so much. And I do, because you need it. And because you can have a plan where you pay no premiums, no deductibles. You get your hearing. I mean, they'll pay for hearing aids. It depends on the plan. They'll pay for your vision. Yeah. They'll pay for your teeth. Seniors have, in many cases, problems with their teeth because of years of neglect, a lot of it based on the financial realities of going to a dentist, okay? And therefore, they're now facing some significant costs. Now, let me say right up front, none of these plans pay for implants. I had a senior sit down with me, and he said, find me a plan that pays for implants. And I started laughing. He said, no, I want to look good. I said, you can. Your check, not theirs. The one plan we settled on was going to pay for his dentures, up to $1,000, and other preventive care. That was the best that I could offer him for what he wanted, because he had other things he wanted as well. But implants is not on the table. So you're welcome to pay for them, or go to Thailand and get them for virtually nothing if you can get in. But again, I'm just letting you know, many of the plans, again, include the prescription drug plan, Part D. Coverage is often limited to a service area unless it's an emergency. That's not all plans. Many plans will cover emergency in the U.S. as well as out of the U.S. The plan that I'm under, because I travel so much, I will have care out of the United States and prescriptions as well. That was my choice, and that's the plan that I accepted, okay? That is not a perfect plan. Not all plans are. You have to find what fits for your situation, okay? In many cases, they're going to offer benefits not offered by Medicare. Like I said, dental, vision, hearing, and preventive care. Most of them today do silver sneakers where you can work out at any of the major health workout facilities. Don't let them talk you into other add-ons. Just show them your card and work out, swim, you know, enjoy yourself. They have, silver sneakers is big today, and you should take advantage of that. So that is our Part C. Let's look at the types of Part C plans. Coordinated care plans. I'm really big on that. Coordinated care plans are health maintenance organizations. They're known as HMOs. They can be preferred provider organizations, known as PPOs. They can be special need plans. Let me stop and talk about that for a minute. If you have chronic conditions, there are plans available that will put you under a coordinated team that help you, including your medicines. There are special need plans for people with diabetes that have not been able to get control. Diabetes will kill you, ladies and gentlemen. It will kill you, okay? It'll trigger all kinds of other things with your kidneys. And if you can't seem to control those numbers, then you may need to come up under a special needs plan for diabetes. It's not offered by all carriers, just a few. But again, it's available when you talk to a certified enroller. They can help you with this. They really can. Just make sure you're open about it. We also, under health maintenance organizations, point of service plans, which give you the freedom to go to doctors outside of the network. And then there are other plans under Part C, which are your private fee for service and your medical savings account services. Those are specialized plans, but they are available. Now, we're going to talk about Part D, which is help with your prescripts, okay? Now, and again, this is only offered through private insurance companies. You cannot get Part D prescripts through Original Medicare. You have to get it through a private insurance company, and there are many. And you must continue to pay your Part B premium. Now, here's where I get a little bit concerned, because most people have not done the math. I will say this over and over again. They haven't done the math. Okay? If you do the math every single time, you're going to find out that the private plan under Part C is cost efficient and very affordable for what you will need. Okay? There are no free rides, really. So you have to look at what works for you, look at the plans, see what your potential expenses could be under all, the original as well as your Part C. And then if you want supplemental, which is available and has been all along through insurance companies to complement your original, they call them Medigap or sup plans, those are available as well. Insurance agents who are not certified for Plan C cannot talk to you about Plan C. So if there are sup insurance guys and gals, they can talk to you about the benefits of that plan or those plans, but they can't talk to you about the benefits of the Part C. I'm on both sides, okay, because some people, no matter how you crank the numbers, they want supplement because that's all they know. And so fear keeps them writing checks. And believe me, you're going to be writing checks for a long, long time. But let's talk about Part D, which is the prescription plan that you have to purchase on your own. And that is, Part D deals with, again, a formulary. And this is so important. You have to look at that and you have to know how it works. It identifies how your payments will happen. And it's called a tiered formulary. You'll hear it often, Tier 1, which is the lowest, all the way up to Tier 5, which is the most expensive. Most of your generic drugs, metformin, etc., are on Tier 1. You're not going to pay a lot. Okay? But be aware that the prescription drug plan does vary from plan to plan. When you come in to see me, you got to have your list, have how many times you take it a day, have the name, take it right off the pill bottle, and we'll look at it. We'll put it in the system, and we'll look at it. That's imperative because, again, you don't want to be enrolled in a plan that does not cover your medications. Okay? You don't want to do that. That can be a troubling thing. And you want to make sure that you have done that work before you even think about enrolling. Okay? Coverage is not automatic. Please be aware with Part D, if you enroll late, you will pay a penalty. Okay? So how do you determine what your costs are? Well, there are 4 steps. Most people will never get past the first step, which is your annual deductible, your initial coverage, your coverage gap, and catastrophic. Catastrophic is, again, with people that are very sick, typically, have very high expenses relative to cancer treatment and heart, blood pressure issues, etc. The amount of money you pay will vary based upon the stage you are in. Okay? If you're relatively healthy, I wouldn't be so concerned about it. But if you're taking a lot of different medications, we need to look at what that looks like and how much you will have to pay and how much the plan will have to pay. And many times, the medication you take, there is an equivalent with another carrier that may have other benefits that you like, but you don't like the fact that they don't carry that particular brand. You may want to talk to your doctor about that and see if there is an equivalent that will allow you to have your cake and eat it too. Why not? Okay? The coverage under your prescription starts all over on January the 1st every year. Right now we're into the annual enrollment, which means the effective date is January the 1st for all plans, okay? So we've covered those three. The final thing I'm going to cover very quickly, is the sub-plans. And that's important for those of you who, for whatever reason, want them. Because this is America, and if that's what you want, then that's what we'll get. There have been changes this year, and I'm not going to go into them, but just know that the purpose of the sub-plans, supplemental plans, known as Medigap, is to fill in the gap between what Medicare original will pay, that 80%, you will pay, which is your deductible, plus the 20%. It's to fill in those gaps. And no sub-plan gives you everything. Many people purchase sub-plans because they travel. Because in the olden days, under the old Medicare Part C private plans, they didn't have any provisions for people that traveled. And for people that are traveling a lot, and you know when you're a senior, when you want to go, you want to go. They needed to know that they could have that. That was a strong selling feature. The other thing was with the issue of hospice coinsurance, there's a copayment, then that could be covered again under the sub-plan. I'm not going to ever speak against any plan that I talk about because it depends on your specific situation. But here's my recommendation because time is wrapping up. My recommendation is that number one, that you go onto my website and you get this information packet. I don't have anybody on the list. I don't have any carriers listed. Why? Because you got to find out what you need first, and then let's find out what's available second. And that's where I come in, okay? Okay, I'm serious, that's where I come in. If you want information, there are a couple of additional resources, quickly. You can go to Medicare.gov. You can call their number, 800-633-4227. You can call your state health insurance assistance program to see if you qualify for extra help. I'm going to be strong on this because many seniors out here will qualify for additional assistance. They will. And the fact that you are not taking advantage of that, I have to say it's because you don't know. And because if you know better, you'll do better. I mean, that's logical. So I want to encourage you to avail yourself of those resources to, again, do what you must do. This is an exciting part of the year for seniors. It's not a period of frustration and irritation, but it is a period for you to look at your situation over the last year and decide what is going to work for you. And for the record, what works for you may not work for your spouse. I'm so serious. I have many couples under 2 different plans talking about, because each plan is different. One person's medication worked better and was cheaper under another plan than another. So again, that is the importance of you having a review based upon an understanding. Starts with getting the information, gleaning through the information, not being sold on doing call-ins to television. Okay, the agenda of the advertiser is to get you in with them, with the carriers they have. It is not to do an in-depth to see what works for you. And if you believe that television is here for your benefit, when they say clearly it's a sponsored ad, I'm like, I don't care what movie star you put on the television, the key word is that it's sponsored, and therefore there's an agenda. Listeners and viewers, Michelle Y. Graves, the money lady for 40 years. My agenda has always been to educate and empower you so that you can make sound, prudent financial decisions for you and your family. I hope you've enjoyed this educational component today on Medicare 101. And I do invite you to make the next step, which is get the information, make the calls, and then do what works for you and your family. You take care, and I look forward to talking to you, hearing from you soon. God bless you as always. Bye-bye.